March 10th, 2026, 3 a.m. At a seismic observatory in Turkey, a needle trembles. Then it jumps. A seismic event with a magnitude of 4.5 is recorded near Qom, Iran. But it is not an earthquake. The signature is wrong. It is too shallow, too sudden. Other sensors in Azerbaijan and Kuwait confirm it. Something big had happened. In Fordow, Iran, the ground shook violently. Concrete walls cracked. Lights flickered and went out. The air filled with dust and the sound of twisted metal. But the source of the tremor wasn't underground. It was above, 90 meters below the peak of a mountain, inside the most heavily fortified nuclear facility on the planet. Iran staked its future. They staked it on concrete, steel, and solid rock. They staked it blindly on depth. They lost. The bet was buried, literally. That early morning, 40 years of planning, billions of dollars, and a regime's unshakable faith in its own invulnerability were pulverized beneath tons of rock. And the world awoke to a new reality. There is no depth deep enough to escape the American iron fist. For over 40 years, the Iranian regime's survival strategy has been built on a single idea: depth. Since the devastating Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s, when their cities were bombed with impunity, the Ayatollahs became obsessed with the idea of hiding. They could not compete with American air power in the sky, so they decided to become invulnerable underground. Thus was born the Iranian doctrine of depth. This doctrine consumed tens of billions of dollars and decades of engineering. Iran launched the most ambitious excavation program in modern history. They built an underground nation, missile cities, entire air bases, command centers, and, most importantly, the crown jewels of their nuclear program were methodically moved deep into the earth. They believed that depth was the ultimate shield, an asset that would render any conventional attack futile. They turned mountains into fortresses. They dug beneath deserts. They hid beneath the concrete of their cities. The logic was simple. If you cannot be seen, you cannot be targeted. If you are deep enough, you cannot be destroyed. It was an existential gamble, a gamble that the brute force of geology would overcome the precision of military technology. For decades, it seemed like a safe bet. Previous Israeli and American attacks using conventional bombs had failed to penetrate the deepest facilities. Iran interpreted every failed mission as confirmation of its invulnerability. They dug deeper. They reinforced the walls. They believed, until the United States decided it was no longer so. To understand the magnitude of Iran's gamble, we need to visit its underground fortresses. The most famous is Fordow. Built 90 meters deep inside a mountain near the holy city of Qom, Fordow is not just a facility, it is a symbol of defiance. Discovered by Western intelligence in 2009, its existence shocked the world. Within its reinforced concrete corridors, Iran installed more than 3,000 advanced centrifuges, capable of enriching uranium to a purity level of 90%, the level required for a nuclear weapon. Fordow's location was specifically chosen to withstand an airstrike. The mountain above it provided a layer of natural protection that, according to Iranian calculations, was impenetrable to any existing conventional bomb. But Fordow was just the tip of the iceberg. It was the most precious jewel, but not the largest. Iran's main enrichment facility is Natanz, a vast complex in the country's central desert. Natanz houses more than 50,000 centrifuges. After a series of mysterious explosions and acts of sabotage, Iran moved the most sensitive part of the operation underground. They built a new facility beneath 8 meters of concrete and another 8 meters of earth, designed to be immune to airstrikes. It was at Natanz that Iran produced most of its low-enriched uranium, the fuel for its nuclear program. And there was Isfahan, where Iran converted uranium into uranium hexafluoride gas, the raw material for the centrifuges. Isfahan was the beginning of the chain. Without it, Natanz would grind to a halt. Without Natanz, Fordow would run out of fuel. It was an underground nuclear ecosystem, where each facility depended on the others to function. A network so interconnected that, by destroying any single node, you paralyzed the entire system. American planners understood this, and they built their operation precisely to exploit that interdependence. And the personal bunker of the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, an underground fortress beneath Tehran, designed to ensure the survival of the regime's leadership in the event of a decapitation strike. Together, these facilities facilities formed the backbone of Iran's gamble, a network of underground fortresses that they believed was the ultimate insurance policy for their nuclear program and for the regime's survival. The total cost of this network was estimated by the CIA at over $40 billion over 3 decades. $40 billion in concrete, steel, engineering, and hope. $40 billion staked on the idea that depth was salvation. They had built a kingdom in the shadows, an empire of concrete and steel beneath the earth, and felt absolutely safe within it. That sense of security was the regime's greatest weakness. While Iran dug, the United States designed, in secret, in Air Force laboratories and at Boeing facilities, a weapon was being perfected. A weapon designed for a single purpose: to break through bunkers. It wasn't just any bomb, it was the master key to Iran's underground kingdom. Its name, GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator, or MOP. The MOP is a monster, over 6 meters long and weighing 13,600 kilograms, the weight of 2 adult elephants. It is the largest and most powerful conventional bomb in the U.S. arsenal, but its true power does not lie in its size. It lies in its penetration capability. Designed with an ultra-high-strength steel alloy and a tungsten nose, the MOP can pierce 60 meters of reinforced concrete with 5,000 psi strength, or 40 meters of solid rock, before detonating its 2,400-kilogram warhead of explosives. It is a weapon that creates its own earthquake, a weapon that doesn't explode on the surface. It explodes at the heart of the enemy's stronghold, but such a heavy weapon required a special carrier. The MOP wouldn't fit in any conventional aircraft. It was too large, too heavy, and required a weapons bay with specific dimension. Only one aircraft in the world was capable of carrying 2 of these bombs and delivering them with precision anywhere on the planet without being detected: the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber. With its flying wing design and radar-absorbing skin, the B-2 is virtually invisible to enemy air defenses. It can take off from its base in Missouri, fly for 30 hours, refuel in the air, penetrate the world's most heavily defended airspace, drop its weapons with meter-level precision, and return home without the enemy even knowing it was there. The combination of the B-2 and the MOP was the American response to Iran's depth doctrine. The operation to carry it out was dubbed Iron Hand. For 18 months, American intelligence planned the mission with obsessive meticulousness. KH-13 spy satellites mapped Iranian facilities with centimeter-level resolution, identifying every entrance, every ventilation shaft, every structural weak point. RQ-180 stealth drone, flying at 70,000 feet, collected data on air defenses and activity pattern, mapping every radar, every missile battery, every patrol. CIA agents inside Iran confirmed the floor plans of the facilities, providing the precise data needed to calculate the exact angle of penetration for each MOP. Iron Hand would not be an impulsive attack. It would be a surgical strike, planned with the precision of a Swiss watch and the force of an artificial earthquake. On the night of March 9, 2026, 2 B-2 Spirit bombers took off from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. Each carried 2 GBU-57 MOP bombs in its weapons bay. They flew eastward in radio silence, crossing the Atlantic and Europe, refueling several times in the air with the help of KC-46 tanker aircraft. They were ghosts in the sky. Each B-2 was crewed by 2 pilots, veterans of covert missions, who knew exactly the historical weight of what they were carrying. Not just the physical weight of the bombs, but the weight of the decision. In 30 hours of flight, they would have the chance to change the course of Middle Eastern history. As they approached Iranian airspace, the U.S. electronic warfare network sprang into action. F-22 Raptor and F-35 fighters, operating from aircraft carriers in the Persian Gulf and from bases in the Gulf, created a silent corridor, jamming and deceiving Iranian radars with a barrage of false signals and targeted interference. To Iranian radar operators, the sky appeared empty. The B-2S glided across the border undetected, their radar signatures smaller than a bird's. The first target was Fordow, the mountain fortress, the deepest, the proudest, the most symbolic. At 3 a.m., the first B-2 opened its weapons bay. The first MOP was released. Guided by GPS, the 13-ton bomb plunged toward the mountain. The impact was almost silent. The bomb pierced the rock like a hot needle through butter. Seconds later, 90 meters underground, the warhead detonated. The underground explosion created a shockwave that pulverized the centrifuge rooms, collapsed the tunnels, and buried the heart of Iran's weapons program under millions of tons of rock. On the surface, the mountain shook. It was the tremor felt in Turkey. The second MOP struck a different target at the same facility, ensuring total destruction. The second B-2 headed for Natanz. There, the MOPs pierced through 8 meters of concrete and 8 meters of earth, as if they didn't exist, like a hot knife cutting through butter. The underground facility, which took a decade to build and housed more than 50,000 centrifuges, was turned into a smoking crater in less than a minute. The centrifuges, each representing years of engineering work and evaded sanctions, were reduced to twisted metal fragments. Then it was Isfahan's turn. The same result: precise, devastating, definitive, irrevocable, no second chances. Iran's network of bunkers, its 40-year insurance policy, was cancelled in a single night. In less than 6 hours, what had taken 4 decades to build had been destroyed. What Operation Iron Hand demonstrated was not merely the United States' ability to destroy any target, anywhere. It was the destruction of an entire military doctrine. The doctrine of depth, the bet that hiding underground was salvation, proved to be a fatal illusion. Technology had overcome geology. For Iran, the result was apocalyptic. Its nuclear program, the regime's life's work, was literally buried under tons of rock and concrete. The country's most secret and heavily defended facilities were breached and destroyed with terrifying ease. In Tehran, the IRGC High Command remained silent for hours, unable to process what had happened. 40 years of work, $40 billion, destroyed in a single night. The message was clear: there is nowhere to hide. There is no depth deep enough to escape the reach of American technology. The lesson echoed far beyond Tehran, in China, which built its own great underground wall to protect its ballistic missiles. In North Korea, whose leader hides in a network of underground palaces. In Moscow, where Putin maintains his own nuclear bunker. The era of the impenetrable fortress is over. Operation Iron Hand proved that, in 21st century warfare, the advantage lies not in how deep you can dig, but in how high and how stealthily you can fly. The depth that Iran believed would be its salvation was, in fact, merely an expensive illusion. An illusion that cost $40 billion and 40 years of hope. The United States did not need an invasion. It did not need a prolonged bombing campaign. It did not need a single soldier on Iranian soil. It needed 4 bombs and 2 planes. And in a single night, it shifted the balance of power in the Middle East forever. Iran's bet on depth did not give it a shield. It gave it a tomb of concrete and rock, built by the regime's own hands, sealed by its adversaries' technology. The war of the 21st century is not won by those who dig deepest. It is won by those who fly highest, fastest, and most invisibly. And on that March dawn, over the desert and mountains of Iran, there was no doubt who had won.